back, everybody, to the next episode of the 7-Day Hustle. My name is Kyle Ashone, and I have one of my very good friends, Mr. Heath Fall, with me today, and I have been looking forward to this for a very, very long time. Heath, how you doing since the last 30 seconds I've seen you?
Dude, Kyle, it's been a while, man. Happy to be on. Long-time listener, first-time speaker. So, no, dude, yeah, I'm excited.
Did you? So, could you? Did you see the video and the audio when it started?
Yeah, I did. So I saw the graphic and everything came through loud and clear.
Sweet, because this whole episode, I really wanted to make sure, or this season, the video aspect was the most important to me, and for me, I have to have as little editing as just sit down, point, click, go, post, done, and so it's working out well. So anyways, Heath, I don't know how much you've listened to this podcast or not, but it's basically, we can get into the serious conversations. We can get into serious topics. It's my thought has always been the most valuable conversations are the ones that you weren't necessarily planning on being involved, but they're extremely meaningful. And I just started noticing that other people need to know that information, right? And so was the whole basis of this thing is be willing to go down the rabbit trails, be willing to have a thought bubble that sparks and you just take off on it, be willing to do those things, right? So for you specifically, really quick background for the listeners is me and you have basically never not known each other, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of business owners or just high performing people that are in some sort of level of leadership or want to level their lives up more than your average, right? It's not necessarily entertainment focused. It's more educational and informational focus, right? And so one thing that I've really always wanted to ask you and never have is that out of high school and kind of in your beginning of your professional career, you went to, for more or less, become a pastor, right? And now you are a business owner, and that transition is what I wanted to talk to you about and just see kind of what it was like for you and because from your perspective, you're coming from we'll call it, the best way I can describe the separation is somebody in the military, right? They now have a division of people in life. It's the military and then the civilian world. There's the military world and the civilian world. And I think, or feel like that a lot of people in the quote unquote civilian world also view it that way as far as the pastoral world. And there's a higher level of understanding or learning or knowledge or whatever. You see a life through a different lens. And because it's always portrayed as more of a teaching and education. So when you talk to somebody that is a legitimate pastor or self-proclaimed teacher of the Bible, right? There's you must know more than me in a certain level, just how to navigate and operate life. And so, so going from a place of full-time ministry to quote unquote the civilian world where it's full-time business, what's that been like for you?
Yeah. I think, it's something I've never really articulated because I think I haven't really thought about it in that way.
Mm-hmm.
But I think when you're called to ministry, I don't think that ever stops.
Sure.
I think it just ends with are you employed doing it? I'm still an ordained pastor. I just did a wedding last summer, and I think I still have a call for ministry. It just looks different. It used to be at a church and I was paid to do it. And now I get my money from my business. So I think there's part of it, it doesn't change, but what I do for money changes, if that makes sense.
Does it? Yeah, that does make sense. So then do you feel basically what you're saying is the mission and the ministry doesn't change based on your placement?
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like it's difficult to quote unquote minister or be in a level of ministry? Like your ministry is yourself, essentially. Like what you're saying is God calls you to impact people, right? And you can do that through a church setting or you can do that through a business setting. Do you find that it was easier to do it in one setting versus the other, or like just what's the difference there?
You mean like as a part of like being full time or not?
Um my motive for the question is that business owners go against, like, how do I care for this person and hold accountability in the same way? How do I offer truth and grace? How do I care for this person and help educate them and or more so less invest in them and give them an opportunity to grow, but I also might have to correct them and give them, enforce accountability, or even though like and even fire them, right? So like in a church setting, you're only there to give. In a business setting, you're there to give to your employees also, but they also have to produce back to you. And so there's just a different level of like, can I really get so involved with this person and care about them in the same way in a business versus a church? Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
Yeah, no, I think it's very similar because I think it's all ministry. I think we're as followers of Christ, we're all called to minister to one another, to love one another. And yeah, you're right. I think the difference there is, as a business owner, you still try to like love your employees and things like that, and your coworkers, people that you work for. You're trying to love those people as well. And then, yeah, sometimes unfortunately, you have to end professional relationships and fire people, which is not fun. But I think that is definitely the biggest difference between the two. As a pastor, you usually don't say, "Stop coming to my church." Um,
Right.
which honestly, I've known people who have to do something like that for like legal reasons, or there's like a divorce and then there's like restraining orders. Like sometimes you do have to be like, okay, you both can't come to this church, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So it does get like that too. So it's like, I think it's just people, I love people and people are really complicated. And it's just, yeah, it's a lot, but it's also really rewarding. And it's kind of all that matters.
Yeah. I heard this a few years ago and it was like 100% true. So I can't take credit for it, but it's that business is easy and people are hard.
Yeah.
And I was like, if that isn't one of the most true statements I've ever heard, right? Like, because you can put a business model down on paper and be like, yeah, I can see how this exactly works. And then the only thing that gets in the way from that being executed to a T and seeing it actually come up is the people that get in the way.
Yeah.
whether it's, you yourself as a business owner, an employee, a customer, whatever it is, even like something insurance related, or, it's like the only thing that gets in the way of a perfect plan on paper is people.
Yeah.
A lot of P's in that statement, but um, it's actually like knowing you has helped me. And, we don't talk about business and stuff all the time, but when we do, eh, I greatly enjoy it. And sometimes like you don't know if you're doing the right or the wrong thing a lot of times, right? And so like when we've talked, you're it's like, okay, am I still doing the right thing when I have to do something that's uncomfortable? Like, what does God have to say about that? And so sometimes bouncing it off of somebody that it's a really bad way to explain it, but for lack of better terms, like is closer to God or just has a textbook knowledge and level of understanding of like I've researched this. I've dedicated a full-time portion of my life to this. I'm not really guessing. Like the relationship is built enough to where I can navigate the ins and the outs, the rights and the wrongs, the guidance a little bit more than somebody who has not put that much in full-time intentional time into their relationship with God. Now, we can have a whole nother discussion on that itself, right? But what I want to narrow in on is it's been very helpful to be able to talk to somebody like yourself and realize that, like, it's okay to have a backbone. Like, God actually says, it's okay to hold people to accountability. It's okay to end these things. Like, not everything, in order to follow God and work inside a business and run this thing in an obedient way, means it's going to go smooth, and that's okay. Like, it might be abrasive sometimes. So um I don't know if something sparks in your mind surrounding that, but I just know for me, having you as a friend, and we've talked about these things, sometimes like, okay, I can actually make hard decisions and not feel like I'm doing the wrong thing.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, nothing specifically comes to mind, but I appreciate you saying that, and I feel the same way. Like gaining from your knowledge of just running a business, and your business is larger than mine too, so it's kind of like you get to see more quicker, and I think that's really cool too. So
Mm,
I'm glad we can learn from each other, and I think that's also really important. Is don't act like you know everything, but like
mhm,
learn, and
mhm.
like surround yourself with people that you can learn from. I think that's so critical.
Was it a little bit of a culture shock for you going from, and it's not like you hadn't had a normal job in a business before you went to, I don't know, what would you call it? What would you call your education? It's not seminary.
Like pastoral ministry, like,
Okay.
um, yeah, because yeah, I've got a bachelor's degree in youth ministry, so it's
Okay.
not, yeah, seminary would be like a little beyond that. So
Yeah. So is it okay? So like it's not like you didn't work jobs before you went and went to school for ministry. Um, was it a culture shock a little bit after leaving um, the church side of things and going into business ownership?
oh yeah, no, I think there's a lot. So basically, what happened was I was working at a church and I was about to get married, and I was just realizing I needed to make more money. I needed to do something different that would bring
Hmm.
me money that I could support my family. And so I ended my time working at a church and then transitioned to basically working for a builder. And within 5 months, I was like, I think I should go into this. If I really want to make some good money and do this well, I think I need to start my own business. And so that's where that came out of, and then started slowly taking on clients pretty quickly because I realized too, you can't, there's safety in staying with an old business and slowly starting your business. But I think there's that
Yeah,
point you just have to say no to the old business and be like, no, I need to put myself fully into this. Um,
I've referred to that like in some major points in my business career, I guess you could call it, of like there's minor decisions and there's major decisions. And the major ones like really make you uncomfortable. And I mean, especially when it's like a major jump that you haven't done before. And it's like, okay, once I move forward with this, there is no going back. And
yeah.
it's not like I can make it, or moving back, it would be a very, very big turn to back out of this. And I remember God putting this image on my heart of Peter getting out of the boat, right? And it's like, and for those that might not understand the scenario, the Bible talks about Peter and the disciples were in a boat out on the water, extremely stormy situation, and this it was when Jesus walked on the water, right? And so Peter looks out of the boat and he sees Jesus out in the water, and it's like, I think I know what I'm seeing right now, but it is really scary and really different than anything I'm used to. And for me to confirm whether this is true or not, and for me, I have to step outside of my comfort zone, which is the boat, in an uncomfortable scenario, raging waters, sacrifice my security, focus on what I think I'm being led to experience. And it's like, so many compounding things of discomfort you have to embrace. And so I just found myself in that position, and I was like, it hit me as like getting out of the boat. Like, I have to get out of the boat. I feel like God is directing me in this way, and I have to get out of the boat. And then what you realize is once you do that, you meet Jesus there, or you realize that, hey, this is all going to work out. The minute you start taking your eyes off of the focus, things start to things start to crumble around you. You know, when Peter was sinking in the water, and then because he took his eyes off Jesus, he started looking around him. And what I realized is you never actually stop getting out of the boat. And so it almost sounds like that would be a good way to describe what you were looking at. Like, hey, I think I can do this. Much like you said, there's comfort in being with somewhere that's established and secure. But I have to get out of the boat here in this situation so I will experience something that's greater and bigger than where I'm at now.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we're never promised comfort. We're never promised like it's going to go smooth. Um, and I think, yeah, when we're called, I like to, I think I heard it first from the Walk in Love podcast. Like the way they summed up what you're saying is just like, just get out of the boat.
Mhm.
Like if you're called, just get out of the boat.
Mhm.
And at the same time, I think it's what's the worst that's going to happen? The business fails, then you're
Right.
like, okay, do something different or go back to your old job or get another job somewhere else. Like you might have to DoorDash for a while, you know?
Right.
It's
Did you
just
do
like
that?
I did. Yeah. Yeah, DoorDash is kind of interesting because you can apply very easily and you can basically just like turn on your phone whenever you want to work.
Mhm.
So it's not a huge money maker, but it's really cool because like if you're doing like a 9 to 5, then you can just clock in after just to make some extra money on the side or weekends or whatever. So
Mhm.
I always use that as a description because it can kind of like fill some gaps.
Yeah.
Um, but then here's another thing too is like with our business, I think I've used something like that to where I'm nervous because jobs aren't coming through. And so I would
Sure.
default to something like that when
Mhm.
I should have just been paying attention to the actual business. And like, did I check in and make a couple hours of DoorDash money because I was stressed about money? Yes. But I should have used that time just to advertise or to
Right.
work on like connecting with new clients. I think that's more beneficial in the long run too. So like
Yeah.
operating out of fear has definitely been something I've struggled with as well.
It's interesting, um, that, like, you're not absent from all of the things that everybody else goes through, you know? And we think that, like, pastors have the answers, and it's like, "No, dude, like, we're just people. We're still people." Like, it's just and so a few different things I'm picking up here is I think a way that Satan gets at us as business owners is he makes us think that being shrewd, managing money correctly, understanding that you have to make money, being intentional with what you do and why you do it, and not shortchanging yourself. I think Satan can creep in by giving us a level of guilt that you're putting money as too much of the focus, right? And so it's like, no. And so hearing this come, the reason why I find this so valuable coming from you is because of your background, and it can quite literally save a lot of people from having Satan hold on to them in that way of feeling like you're not doing what God wants you to do because you're focusing on doing the right thing in these areas, right? Like, okay, you are a pastor, but you also qualified things like, I just have to make more money.
Mhm.
Like, and there's a strategic way to do that. Like, I can't shortchange myself. It's not about like, I'm just going to let everybody blow me over and bulldoze me, and hopefully that God will, let manna rain on my, like, yes, there's an element of God will provide, but that doesn't mean that we're in the wrong for being intentional and seeking out what we need to. That isn't like 24/7 reciting Bible verses and, like, well, what would God do in this situation? Like, he does give us autonomy to make decisions for ourselves, and it's actually a disservice to not be shrewd in those ways. Like, we can't be ignorant. What would you comment to that?
Yeah. No, I agree. I think there's also like the, being a pastor and owning your own business, there is quite a bit of overlap. I mean, it's dealing with people and things like that. But I think you're right. I think we have to look at like what God has called us to do at number one, and also we have to look at where we're at. We are Midwest Americans. Like, how do we function well in this society? And we're a very blessed country. And with hard work and knowing, understanding business, understanding people, we can make a good living. We're not in war torn, country or something like that. And I think you can still do God's will in both places. But then, yeah, we have a responsibility. I think there's a lot of people that are not living up to their full potential
Mhm.
in areas like ours, but that we can do. And they still might be following God, but I think God wants us to live full lives. And I'm completely against like prosperity gospel, but
Yeah.
I'm saying you can follow God and your your work life can be phone it in. It's hard too because like you almost me saying that is almost like, are you really living for Christ if you're not giving things your all? You know, but I think there's people who are like, their work life is just like, I just go to
Mhm.
work, I work a 9 to 5, and I don't care. It pays for my bills. It's like, that's
Right.
awesome, but aren't you called to more? And if you have that ability, doesn't that make you, more? I mean, both of us could, you could work for an asphalt company instead
Mhm.
of working, like own one,
Mhm.
and I think those are two good lives, right? A good
Yeah.
paying job and then owning a business. But I think you saw the step up and were like, I want to do more. And I think that's also very like gratifying. And
Yeah.
also like you're using the gifts that God gave you. So that's also like
Well,
a good thing.
so I have to, unfortunately, cut us off here, and I knew this was going to happen. It was going to be a super good conversation. That, like, there's another half to this, um, but because of time constraints, I got to go right now. But, like, where I would like to pick this up for the second half of this is where you're leaving off right now. Is that, like, you just said some very, very impactful things that I know a ton of people, it's going to hit them like a ton of bricks because it removes the guilt, right? And it also, like, gives them validation that it's okay to want more. It's okay, and, like, it's actually, depending on how you look at it, it's kind of our responsibility, right? And you can become, and we're speaking to a very small group of people, but extremely impactful. Right now, we're speaking to business owners and leaders, because those are the people that challenge themselves and the people that they're leading as well, and challenging themselves to go beyond where their easy capabilities are right now, and then challenging the people that they're leading to find new limits for themselves as well and hold a high accountability. And so, what you said of, it's almost, are we really being followers of Christ if we're not finding our true potential? And in the Western culture, every single thing that we are bred to believe is based around ease and comfort, right? Everything that we see on TV, on social media, every advertisement is designed to make our life better. There's nothing out there that says, do this and struggle, right? It's all designed for comfort. And so, the select few people that are like, I want more, you almost get looked at as crazy. And for me, some of the what helps give me peace with that is the level of urgency. Like, God says, consider the ant. Like, they don't, like, you have to look at it in a whole, in the spectrum as a whole, right? Because it's not like an ant doesn't sleep, right? Like, there's purpose to what he's doing. He's not just running and working to a mindless extent. They're intentional for a purpose, and they work very hard and diligent with it, and they don't waste time. The other thing about when Jesus talks about, like, time is short, right? Like, coming back soon. There's so many ways that he tells us stop wasting time. Like if you maintain where you're at now, that's actually a disservice. You know, a very, very popular thing is parable of the talents, right? If you only give me back and you didn't lose where you're at right now, that's a disservice because you were meant for more.
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
I know you got to go.
Yep.
I think sometimes in Christian culture, we glorify suffering. Like we're
Mm,
doing ministry and I'm making no money
mm,
because I'm serving God. And I think sometimes if that's what you got to do, you do that. But I think sometimes it's an excuse for people being lazy when you
mhm.
could work your butt off to have like provide for your family and still do the same amount of ministry. So I think that's huge too.
So good. Can we pick up there next time?
Sounds great, dude.
All right. Thank you. We'll see you soon.
See ya. Do I need to stay here to upload?
I've actually got to hit end recording.